Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Jinx. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back to the chaos where we're hitting it every single day. So today we are going to be back with another horror story video. If you haven't seen my last one about the Valentine's Day horror story at Jersey Mike's, check that one out before you watch this one. No correlation to each other, just go check it out and see what the heck happened that day. But today I'm going to be telling you a full, honest, no wishy-washy, like just full upfront story about how I dated a pathological liar for an entire year and 2 months. Full deep dive, nothing holding back. My heart's starting to race a little bit. For the past week, just to give you guys some backstory on why I'm talking about this now of all times, for the past week, I've been listening to dedicatively, is that a word, to Reesa Teesa's video, Who the Fuck Did I Marry? And it's like a 7.5 hour video. I highly recommend you guys go watch it. It's just absolutely insane. A lot of plot twists, like actually what the heck is going on here, because what? And the entire time I was watching her video, listening to it while I'm doing laundry, cooking, going to work, coming back from work, cleaning up at Jersey Mike's, etc., etc., etc. I just couldn't help but be reminded of my own experience. And man, today's gonna be a bit of a doozy. If you're not in the right mental space, if you're having a hard time right now in life, take a minute from this video, don't watch it, go watch some cartoons, do a puzzle, do something mentally productive to just, we don't need to hear all this if you're not having a good time in life. And for those of you who are up to watching it, hi, welcome. So, and I believe this was 2021. 2022. Was it? Yeah. 2022. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting all this stuff mixed up. I want to make sure that I have everything in my correct order. In 2022, I met a man on a dating website, Bumble. I know it's super common, especially here in California, here in LA. But if you don't know what it is a dating site that you are able, it's not exactly as gross as Tinder. People are usually, is in my experience, usually more looking for a relationship. They're usually more upfront, whether they're just wanting to fuck, whether they just want to be friends with benefits, or whether they're actually in for a relationship. There's even an option to put I'm here for marriage. Just throwing myself out there. But I had met a guy on there, and for this purpose of the video, I am going to regard him as John, for no particular reason. For all parties involved, I am deeply sorry about coming out with this video. I am in no means trying to hurt or embarrass or anger any of those involved. I just feel that I need to tell my story. I feel that clearly there are more people out there who are going through similar situations or have gone through similar situations. And as a 21-year-old woman, I feel like I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared going into this, and I wasn't prepared to deal with this whole situation. I didn't have to, definitely. And if I can just help one person out there, my story is done. My story can be complete. But getting right into it, I met a guy on Bumble, and we seemed to be hitting it off. It started, I was in class, I was in chemistry class learning about chem, and I was texting this guy the whole morning, and I was like, dude, I have a genuine connection with this guy, it seems. I hit him with what are you doing today? Just super out of the blue. If you know me in real life, I'm a very spontaneous person. I could be at work on my shift, bored as heck, and then if I get on my break and I'm talking to somebody, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing after work right now? I'm bored. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the mall. Let's go hiking. Just very spontaneous throughout the day. But I hit him with hey, what are you doing today? And he said, not doing anything. Why? And I said, let's go out. Let's go to the Pike. I want to get to meet you in person, and was very forward. I was like, I'm down to hang out with you. Let's go if you're up for that. And John was like, sure, yeah, let's hang out. Let's do it. And so I was like, all right, cool. So I go to pick him up, I get ready, I do the makeup thing, get all cute, and I head over to his place. And I pick him up. And he seems pretty cool. Off the bat, John seems very collected, seems very, like, he said he was in college. He said he was studying kinesiology. And I asked him what college he went to, and he goes to LBCC, or he went to LBCC at the time. And if you don't know what that acronym stands for, it's Long Beach City College. If you are in the Long Beach, Carson area, you know what I'm talking about. So all of these places, the Pike, El Dorado Park, all of these stories and places that I'm about to mention in this video, you probably know what's up for the most part. I myself go to Cal State Dominguez, so I live in Carson. He lives in Long Beach, and that's just that. So I pick up John, and we head to the Pike, and we're talking about majors, talking about classes that we're taking, that we've taken in the past, blah blah blah. It's going pretty good. I asked him, like, hey, what do you do for work? And he's like, I'm working at a private gym where these dumb Karens come here and basically ask me to stare at their butt all day, see if they're doing the form right, whatever. And he said he was an assistant manager. He was working there for a few years. He'd had a construction or a warehouse job in the past. He said he's been working since he was 16, 15, and he said his parents had him pay rent since he was 17. So I was like, okay, cool. This is relatable for the most part. I've been working since I was 18. I mostly work in fast food. I did a little bit of retail here and there, but for the most part, I worked in fast food. And I asked him, I was like, oh, well, how long have you been working there? He said a few years now. I just got promoted to assistant manager, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I get good money for it. And I'm like, oh, that's so dope. I told him that I had been working at my current job for like almost 9 months now. I told him like the gripes about it, how I didn't mind it too much sometimes here and there. And he was, he's very relatable. He's like, yeah, I completely get it. My job kind of sucks sometimes too. Money's money, right? So we get to the Pike outlets and we're walking around. We're walking around the beach. We're walking basically everywhere, just talking. And the more we talked, I was getting so enthralled. I was like, dude, this is a cool guy. This is a very relatable guy. I fuck with him. And he looked nice. He was tall. He was built. And I was like, bro, that's so dope. It's so cool to see a guy specifically, because that's what I'm attracted to. It's good to see a person who's tall, built, and has his life together, because most of the men my age don't have their life together. And to give you some context, John is at this point 22 now, maybe turning 22 this year. But at the time he was turning 21 during Christmas area. So I was like, oh, cool. Okay, so you're like a year older than me. That's pretty dope. So at the time I'm 20, he's 22, but he's turning 21. He's 20, but he's turning 21. So I was like, oh, cool. So you'll get to have the drinking experience before I do. Punch in the arm. Cool beans, dude. So we continue talking. We talk a lot about a lot of different things. I tell him how I go to Cal State Dominguez and how I'm in the apartments and how I have roommates. He asked me how that was. And I was like, oh, I'm not really getting along with my roommates, but that's okay. It's not my problem. And he had brought up how he used to have his own place that he roomed with his friend and his girlfriend. And I was like, oh, how was that? And he said, well, they were cool, but I used to hear them having sex in the other room and it wasn't the best time. So I was like, oh man, I completely get it. I go through the same crap at my place. Like, it's just crazy. And so we both laughed about that. And, we just kept talking, and throughout the rest of the date, it went pretty well. And, he hit me with I think I'm going to start I'm going to cut off all my other friends with benefits and just talk to you and see what you're on. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sure. In my head, I'm like, this motherfucker capping. Like, that's crazy. What guy says that? Okay, cool. First date, 2 hours in, sure. But I hit him back, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'm down with that. I'm not really talking to anybody else right now. So yeah, let's see where this takes us. So we continue to talk throughout the rest of the night. We have a few more dates, and he takes it very slow because I asked him to. Like, he was checking all the boxes. I had been through a lot of crappy situations with men in the past, and I had set some boundaries, and I was like, look, if you're going to take this as seriously as you're making it out to be, I need you to be on this. I'm going to hand you the keys because I know how to drive this bitch like a Maserati right into the ground, and that's probably not good for this situation. So you can take the keys and drive it as slow as you can. And so he did. I'm not going to get into the specifics on intimacy because that's not relevant to the conversation, but the chemistry, the pace we were taking the whole thing was very respectful, very wholesome is the word that I'm looking for, goodness. And it was great. And I had asked him, I said, hey, I have this boundary with every man. If you're my best friend, you know this. But I have a boundary where it's like, don't ask me any questions until 3 months. The question being like, oh, will you be my girlfriend? Blah, blah, blah. Just so that I can get to know you and see where it goes and see if we're serious about this, because I don't know, everybody knows this, but at 3 months, if not a little bit before or a little bit after, people start to show their true colors. And I don't know, maybe some of the colors I might not like, maybe some of the colors from my end you might not like. So let's just keep it 100 and keep it 3 months until anything goes any further. And so he did. But right before that 3 months, I want to say a couple of weeks before that, we started having problems. And over the littlest thing, littlest communications that I had, that he got confused about. And if you know me, I tend to talk in riddles at sometimes. My grandma's from the South, so terms like washing your hands of somebody, meaning you're cutting them off, or like just terms like that, where if you know, you know, and if you don't, ask, or if you know what this means, obviously this person's just talking about whatever, and if not, then you're like, oh, well, what is that phrase? I've never heard it before. And this person hadn't, I guess he just didn't know what I was talking about. So I didn't have a problem with explaining, like, oh yeah, so wash your hands of a person, just complete example, to wash your hands of a person means to cut that person off. You're washing your hands of all the greasiness, their dirtiness, and you're washing it away. You're cutting that person off completely. And so he'd be like, okay, cool. Well, if you don't mind, like, say what you mean, not don't like mean what you say. So I was like, okay, cool. And throughout the entire relationship, watch what you say became a very common phrase. And it came to a point where I had changed my entire being, myself, my personality for this person. I know you should never change yourself for a person, and I know that now, but I don't recognize the person that I am now compared to who I was before I first met John. But all that is to say, getting back into the story, at 3 months, he had taken me to this place that we had frequented with a beautiful view, and he asked me to be his girl. And he was a little bit nervous, but, I said, yeah. I was like, go ahead and ask it. He asked me to be his girl. I say yes. We have a whole cute smoochy smooch. It's like a whole wholesome thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. But every week that I would see him, right before or right after, we would have an argument, most of the time coming from him against me. I would say something, I would do something, I would phrase something a little bit differently. I would forget to text him that morning saying good morning because I was at work, and it would just become a whole issue that we would argue throughout the whole day. And the argument would be solved at 3 a.m. on the phone with me crying, sobbing, apologizing, until he said it was fine, until he said we were good. And for the next 9 months or so, that became a continuous situation. Regardless of all the good times we had, regardless of all the bad times we had, that would become a continuous situation. I met John around March. And I'm trying not to get too jumbled around here. I'm trying to stay in chronological order, with the lies, with the deception, with the manipulation. But in March, we were still dating, we were still talking, but I had caught COVID, and this would have been our first time spending apart for a ridiculous amount of time. And if you know me, I am the most sensitive being on the planet, be that mentally, physically, emotionally, etc. I usually get sick at least once a month, and it hits me like a train. I am bedridden. I've got the stuffy nose for days. I've got like this really bad coughing fit that happens every 5 minutes. It's terrible. So COVID, getting it for the first time, hit me like a meteor. Like, I was delirious. My fever was crazy through the roof. I was just not having a great time, and I was like literally texting him, I'm like, I'm gonna die. Like delirious laughing, but I'm like, I might actually die in this place. The school had put me in an apartment, a closed apartment, and they were like, hey, bring some snacks, you're gonna be here for a little while. If you tell me to bring snacks, especially considering the position that I was in, delirious, not mentally there, etc., I'm gonna bring Cheerios and hot Cheetos. That is what I brought. And so it was a concern of having enough food, having the right food, not being able to leave the place. He didn't drive. Again, I couldn't leave. So it was like okay, well, let's figure this out. But that night, the same night that I first got COVID, I'm like in my worst position ever. He texts me and he's like, I just got back from the gym. You won't believe what happened today. I said, what happened? And he said somebody almost died at the gym, and paramedics pulled up, and me and the homies that were with me had to like give him CPR and make sure it was like this ridiculous story. And I said, oh my God, is everything okay? And he said, yeah, like the guy's good. Like he's off in the ambulance now. Like we're all cool. Everything's good. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And that same night, no, I'm sorry, probably the next day, he had gone back to the gym. And another story he told me was that on his way home that day with his friends, he saw a car blew up. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I hauled the passenger out of the car. The driver guy was dead. It was a whole scene. It was very traumatic, and police were all over. And I was like, oh my God, like, are you okay? Like, what the heck? That's so bizarre. Like in my head, I'm like, that's some movie crap. Like, is this man alive? Is this man okay? And he assured me, he reassured me, he like affirmed my worries. He's like, you're good, everything's okay, I'm okay, which is really crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting like into not like detective mode, but I'm like trying to track this down, be like, oh my God, I want to see this blown up car. Like, this is insane. What? And I'm like looking all over the news, all over every website. I'm like, blown up car, Long Beach area, blown up this, that, and the other. Couldn't find it. And I'm like, the crime rate in this city probably doesn't always call for a news outlet situation. But it would make sense if there was a news thing here, and if there was like a lady being like, car blown up, one person died, the other, blah. And so I just couldn't find it, but I was like, I'm tripping. This is probably nothing. It's whatever. And so I continued to just be sick and go through the whole COVID situation. I got out of it like about a week and a half later. I was recovering. Everything went good. But we were still having issues, and the issues right now at that point was he missed me, I missed him, and I was very emotional, and I was getting a little frustrated that I couldn't see him, but it's to no fault of anybody's. I'm just not present. My brain is being COVIDized or whatever, and I was the problem for saying, I miss you, I want to see you, I can't wait to see you again, but I wish you were here because I feel so alone. Like, I was going through social withdrawals. I was just like, I need to be outside. Blah, blah, blah. I was all alone. I was very much detached and having to detach. And it was just like, I felt abandoned. A girl's got abandonment issues, okay? I felt isolated. I was scared. I was terrified. I was like, I'm never getting out of this again. But anyway, continuing on, he had told me that as the semester ended, he said he was going to take a gap semester. And me, being a full-time DH student, I was like, I mean, I can't afford that, but if you can, I mean, by all means, go ahead. And he was like, yeah, it's just my job, and this whole thing's been crazy. I think I'm just gonna take a step back and focus more on like recuperating and recovering, and then next semester I'm gonna go back. And I said, okay, cool, you do your thing, dude. I'm here to support it. He's got family to support him, and I was like, okay, that's super dope. I love that your family supports you, because I can't relate, but I support it. Go team, whatever. And he had recently, after that, he had quit his job, and I was a bit concerned. I was like, so, I mean, you dropped out of school, you're taking a gap semester, but you also don't have a job. Like, how are you gonna pay for your rent and stuff? And he told me the story of how his parents were gonna ease off of him a little bit. They weren't going to have him pay rent or anything, and it was going to be cool. And I was like, all right, cool. I hope the best for you. You said that you were going to get a job super quickly. He was telling me how it was going to be so easy for him to get a job because he's as an assistant manager. He's got all this experience. He owned 3 vendors, vendor ATMs during COVID. So he raised up $3,000. He had multiple other jobs, warehouse building, some construction experience, electrical experience. So he was good. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So he's got his stuff together. But he ends up getting a new job at this fancy fine dining restaurant. He starts as a dishwasher, and he's telling me that, it's going really good. They're starting to, they like what I'm doing. They're saying that they're going to give me a raise and they're going to promote me to shift lead. And I was like, dude, that's so awesome. I'm still working at my job. And I'm like, oh, wow, I've been working there for 9 months. Inflation's hitting us pretty hard. I'm probably not going to be looking at a raise anytime soon. But he was telling me how he's going to get this raise, how he's getting raise after raise after raise. And I'm like, dude, that's so great. I'm so happy for you. Also kind of struggling on my own part, being like, damn, I'm struggling to find work right now. I had recently quit my job because inflation hit me and I was getting a day a week and I have bills to pay and I was just in a really tough spot. So during this time, my mental is just going down. School just got out, so I was in the dorms. It was me and this one girl that we didn't really get along with. And so while me and her are fighting, for the most part, me and my ex were also fighting. And it got to a point where there was something I had said. I had told him one day, because me and my roommate were fighting, and I usually spent half the week at his place at this point. And at this point, I had texted him saying along the lines of no offense, but I'm so grateful that I have a place to stay half the week. No offense, but thanks for letting me stay at your house, essentially. And what did he do? He took offense to that. The one thing I told him not to do was to take offense, and he took offense to that. And that's me, where I'm the way I say things and how I phrase things is just how I do it. And I kind of just figure that you're going to understand it. If you don't, ask me about it. But he took offense hard to it. And he was like, how dare you try to offend me? Why would you do that? I'm your boyfriend at this point, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm trying to tell you that I'm grateful that you let me stay at your place half the week because I can't sleep here with my roommate at all. And he was like, well, you didn't have to say no offense. And I was like, I'm telling you that I'm grateful. I'm telling you, thank you for letting me crash at your place. Thank you for letting me invade your space for a little bit. But again, took offense to it. And I was at this point just having a really hard time mentally with having no money, because that's a very high stability factor for me, considering where I come from. And so he just kept throwing it at my face, you haven't even found work and I'm trying to be there for you, but every time I turn around, you're just throwing it back in my face you don't even care. And so again, I apologize and I'm scared and I'm just I don't know what to do anymore. I don't even know what's wrong with me. I'm just so depressed and blah, blah, blah. And throughout the entire day, he's at work and I'm texting him this, and on his lunch, he's like, I'm glad that, I'm glad you figured out why you were wrong. We'll talk when I get home. If that isn't some manipulative shit, bro. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional here. I'm gonna take a sip. This isn't even halfway through. We're barely in March. We're barely in May at this point. So he gets home that night. We hash it out. I apologize. And he says, I understand, because as he told me, I'm your first boyfriend. And I just realized that I need to have a little bit more patience with you continuing forward. Please, watch what you say is all I can ask for, but I will try to have more patience with you. And I'm just overly grateful because of my own trauma in my past. I'm thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'll talk to you whenever. If you need space, I understand, but just please forgive me. And so stuff like that continues until maybe about December. And at this point, this is where it's going to get a bit hard. And for all intents and purposes, I want to be completely brutally honest, but I know I look bad. The decisions I made are going to make me look horrible, but I did them for survival. I did them for my future. I did them to continue living. I know my place. Not even my place. I am a very hard, ambitious woman. I strive for success, and I'm babbling at this point, but December 17th is where it kind of started. I had been preparing for the winter break where I was going to go to San Diego, back home to my traumatic household that I had stayed for 4 years for high school. There is a very abusive man who lives there, who made me a shell of a person than I was before I moved. And I was telling my ex, John, that I was planning on going back home for the break because I could not afford to stay on campus. I'd still not found a decent job, or I had just found a decent job, but they still weren't paying me a whole lot because I was just training still. But I told him I could not afford to stay on campus for the winter. And we've been preparing for it. He kept assuring me that, if you need to come home, if you need to drop the ball and drop everything and come back, I'm a phone call away. I am 2 seconds. I am right there with you. I'm here for you. And I said, okay. And December 17th was his birthday. He had just turned 21. And I have been preparing for this whole, birthdays and holidays for me, when I care about people, are very important. I will go all out for a person, getting them gifts, taking them out for dinner. I want to show you that I appreciate you and I appreciate your time and everything that we spent together. So that day I had spent the entire night collaborating this whole itinerary. I was like, we're going to go to the gym afterwards. We're going to come home and shower. We're going to open some gifts, and then I'm going to take you out for Korean barbecue. And my treat, 100% my treat. And he said, okay, cool. And we went, and it was a good time. We both had fun. And when he got home, when we got home from the gym, he opened his gifts, and it was like, a cute little romantic thing. And so, when we came back, because give you some context, I'd celebrated his birthday the day before, his actual birthday, because I was like, listen, if your family wants to do anything, that is your day. I don't want to get in the way of any of that. I just, I would appreciate if the day before, you could be mine for the day, because I want to appreciate how much I love you, how much I appreciate you, yada, yada. He was like, all right, cool. The next day was going to be him and his family and his friends and whatever else. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do my own thing that day. So the next day happens, and that morning his parents had done a whole all expenses paid full body massage at this very ambiance nice massage place for everybody, myself included. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. He didn't like it because he's from what he told me, he was like, I wish you were the person massaging me instead of the lady. And from what his mom was expressing, she had told me that John doesn't really like people to touch him like that. And I was like, okay, I can understand that. At this point, he had told me that he was on the spectrum. He left it at that. He was like, I'm on the spectrum, right? And I was like, yeah, I could see it. I had noticed little things here and there that were like, oh, okay, that's like a little tis. I was like, your tism showing, because my family is full of mental disorders. So we've all got something up here. I've got hella ADHD, anxiety, depression. My uncle's severely autistic. My other uncle's very ADHD prone, etc., etc., etc. So it's like, I noticed these things. And I was like, yeah, it's cool. It's whatever. I get it. And I just didn't know the extent of it. Serious crazy. But before we get into that, let's get into everything else. So that day, but after the massage, he and his dad went out, and I had to go to work. So I went to work. At this point, I don't have insecurities like that. my insecurities are like personal. Like, we need to start losing weight because why is our ass so big? Or why is this not working? Whatever. Like, those were my insecurities. Myself alone, not... My thoughts are not, where is my boyfriend? Who is he with? Where is he going? Etc. Like, I couldn't care less about that. I have my own things to deal with. But that night, I went to work and they told me that they were going to go out to a bar. And I was like, okay, yeah, just have fun. Supportive girlfriend stuff. And I had gotten to work. And tell me why that entire night I'm like worried about him, obviously. But as the night's going on, I just have this pit in my stomach. And I'm like, I hope he's okay, but I hope he's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. And when we first started dating, and as we had gone on, we'd had conversations about, if we go to a party, this is okay, this isn't, I'm comfortable with this, he's not comfortable with this, whatever. Like, we had agreements on this stuff. We had talked about it. Like, this was a set in stone. This is what I'm comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with this, and he's da-da-da-da. Like, we had agreements. So that entire night, I was trying to reassure myself. But of course, my overthinking brain is like, just making stuff up, is making up these little like scenarios that are probably not happening. And in the middle of this whole like shift, he texts me like, hey, I'm super drunk right now. And I'm like trying to be supportive. I'm like, oh, what'd you drink? And he's like, I drank this and I drank that. I drank 3 shots of that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dang, that's a lot, buddy. Like, maybe slow down, but have fun. I'm here for you, bro. And he texted me. He's like, hey, my uncles and my dad want to go to a strip club. All sirens were going off, but I wanted to be the supportive girlfriend, and I said, sure, like, go ahead, go have fun, like, just be respectful, I guess, like, what we talked about, it's cool, whatever, like, just go have fun tonight, for real. And he said, okay, cool, I'll see you when I get home. And I said, okay. And as the night went on, I was getting increasingly more worried, increasingly more anal. It's not the right word, but I was just getting very paranoid. I was like making up these stories that probably weren't true. I was going home. His mom was at home at the time. We were like watching TV. I was waiting for him. I was still like very new to meeting his mom. We hadn't like had too many conversations. So this was going to be one of those moments where we were going to have a whole like real hangout, real sit down, getting to know each other type thing. And so I was trying to be like super respectful, super whatever. And I had also never taken care of a drunk person before. So I was like mentally preparing myself to be this very maternal, very like motherly role. I wanted to like just not take charge, but like take the lead in the, recovery aspect. I wanted to show up in front of his parents. I didn't want to like look weak or look like I couldn't handle, a drunk man. So I'm like getting a little bit more worried, and she gets a text and she's like, oh yeah, they said that they were going to be home soon. And she gets a call from her husband, and they're super drunk, and I guess John is in the back of I guess he had like just puked or something, but he was having a good time, but they were going to be home soon. They were going to Uber home. And so she was like, okay, cool, we'll see you when you get home. My heart is pounding with each second. They didn't say anything. John seemed very out of it, very like blackout drunk type situation. And he gets home, and of course he's a mess. Of course he's just wobbling all over the place, not making sense, talking nonsense. And sorry, I need a minute. He gets home and I see him and I'm like, oh baby, welcome home. How was your time? Did you have fun? He's stumbling everywhere. I catch him. I'm like, I got you. Don't even worry about it. I'm like trying to take him to the room because I'm like, okay, we're going to get you situated. I'll get you a bag, blah, blah, blah. I get him into the room. He sits down and I'm like, I'm going to go get you a doggy bag. You look like you're about to puke. Give me a second. I close the door. All I hear is just vomit spewing, and I'm like, oh God, oh goodness. And so I get him, I'm like, how do I even prepare for this? I asked his parents for some towels and a plastic bag, and I go back in there, vomit all over the wall, and I'm like, oh my God, this this is gonna be a night. And so he's on the floor, and I'm like, okay, let's get you back up on the bed. Let's get you all situated. And he's trying to talk to me. He's like, listen to me. I need to tell you. I have to tell you, don't get drunk. Like, he made it sound like, and he kept repeating himself. He's like, don't ever drink as much as I did when you turn 21. Don't drink as much as I did. I feel terrible right now. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm just trying to see them. I'm like, okay, I want to hear all about your night, but let's get you situated. It was just going on and on. I was trying to get a little bit irritated, but I was trying to stay collected. So I get him situated in bed. He's puked a little bit more. He's settled, and he starts telling me in a broken speech that something happened at the strip club. And I'm keeping a straight face. I'm like, oh yeah, tell me what happened. I want to hear all about it. And he tells me that he had a lap dance from 2 women. One was respectful, was only there for the money, and the other one was like, you can touch me, you can grab my tit, you can grab my ass, you can do some other stuff if you like. Like, I'm just here for a good time, and I want to make you feel good, and I want to make me feel good. And when I heard that, my heart dropped. I was like, this can't be happening. We talked about this. We knew what each other was okay with. Like, he cheated on me. And I know those involved might not consider it cheating. He said he considered it worse than cheating. No, he cheated on me. And what followed after was me telling him, that's great, I want to hear more, and keeping this cute little smile, this maternal, like, oh wow, that's so great, I'm glad you had a good time. Hold on, wait, I have to use the restroom real quick, I'll be right back, just give me 1 second, I swear I'll be right back, I'll be right next door, you won't even know I'm gone. I get out, and he's like, are you mad at me? And I'm like, no, why would I be mad, love? Like, I'm glad you had a good time, I'm gonna be right back, I want to hear more. I close the door. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I close the door, and my whole world is crashing down. And I see his dad. I feel so angry, but I'm like, I'm holding myself back. I'm like, I can't flip out in front of his parents. I need to stay cool, calm, and collected. He looks at me, he sees my face, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. Sir, respectfully, I trusted you to take care of my boyfriend tonight. I trusted you to make sure that he got home safe without any incident. And he said, I got him safe then. I'm like, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm not done. Respectfully, I was okay with him going to the strip club to an extent. And his mom finished the rest. And she said, but she was not okay with the dance. She was not okay with the 2 lap dances that you let your son have. And I nodded. And before the situation, his dad had given me a roll of paper towels, another one. And I was spinning it to calm me down. And the more angry I got, the faster I spun it, to the point where the dad like reached out his hand, and I like flinched back out of like just anger and worry about what I was about to do. And he, like I said, let me have the roll. I'm gonna let you calm down a little bit. And I'm like, I leave to San Diego the day after tomorrow. Like, this is ridiculous. This cannot be happening. Like, why would you let your son go out and do this knowing that he was in a committed relationship with somebody who cares deeply about this man? And he was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that was not a boundary between you two. I'm like, that's insane. I was ready to leave that night. I was ready to leave that night and never come back. I was definitely not fit to drive, but I didn't care about the risk at that point. I was so angry. I was fuming. I was just, my heart was in a million pieces. His mom convinced me to go for a ride with her, and we talked about it, and she convinced me to stay that night. And when I got home that night, I did something that I probably shouldn't have done, but you know what? Fuck it. I took my stizzy. At the time, I was smoking weed, just every now and then, recreationally or to help me sleep. But I took my pen, and I took 4 blinkers that night. I said, in my own twisted mind at the time, I said, I'm gonna get fucked up. I'm gonna get as fucked up as you are, and I'm gonna prove to you that I would never do the same crap that you did right now. And he's still trying to talk to me, and I'm just getting so ridiculously angry. I'm about to start swinging. Y'all, I'm not a violent person, but when I tell you I would have killed this man, I would have. That's ridiculous to say. Anyways, the rest of that night, his parents finally get him away from me to get him to stop talking to me. I sleep, I wake up, and the next couple of days just go by in a blur. And that morning, the morning that I had left to San Diego, I had left on time. I had gotten into San Diego, and the next day I was going to go into the doctor's for a physical, just a routine checkup, because they had my prescription for my birth control had run out like 3 months prior, and my doctors would not re-prescribe my prescription until I had a physical. Makes sense. I want to make sure that my body's still working, there aren't any like uterine cysts or anything like that. And yeah, I went there, routine checkup. I took the P test, the little pregnancy test they check. They're like, oh, are you sexually active? I'm like, yes, but we've been using protection. And so the tests come back positive. The nice nurse comes in and she says, I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know if you know, but you're pregnant. I was sitting on the hospital table and my entire world started spinning. I felt like I was like 4 shots of vodka in. Like, I put my hand on the bed and I just leaned back a second. I said, what? You're kidding. No way. And she said, yeah, the test came back positive. You're pregnant. I said, no way. Run the test again. This is ridiculous. I'm not pregnant. What? She was like, we can run the sample again, but the sample's going to continue to come back positive. We can do blood work. We can do another sample test in an hour. Maybe it was a false, a fluke, but that test specifically that we just took from you will always come back positive. I say, damn, okay. I order some blood work tests to check my HCG levels. If you don't know what that is, it's the pregnancy hormone that your body produces when you're pregnant. And a couple days later, those came back positive. But I texted my ex-best friend at the time, and I explained the situation, and she was like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, I need some time to think, but I'm going to get back to you in a little bit. And she's like, all right, cool, take your time, I'm here for you. I text my grandma, very beautifully traditional Southern woman. She's amazing. She's so headstrong. She's just a beautiful soul, a beautiful person. But I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, she's telling me some scary stories she's threatened me if I got pregnant, that some stuff was going to happen. But the honest person that I am, I text her and I'm like, I need to talk to you. It's not good, but I'll talk to you when I get out. And she says, okay. Yeah. She says, okay. And what I'm about to tell you guys happened within the span of a month. Everything that went down happened in the span of a month. I text my ex and I say, hey, I know you're at work right now, but please give me a call when you get on your lunch break. It's an emergency. Call me ASAP. I took my grandma to her doctor's appointment, and he called me, and I explained the situation. And I watched too many K-dramas, I watched too many telenovelas, I watched too many soaps, and I was expecting rage. I was expecting some toxic masculine stuff. But he asked me calmly, he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I can't keep this. This is going to ruin my life. I have goals, ambitions, I have things to check off my list before I can even think about having a kid. And he said, okay, I support you. I can't be a father right now. I'm not in that place too. And I said, okay, so we were on the same page. I was going to have an abortion, and I was going to go through that. So he slid me $600 to go take care of it. His words. And y'all, when I tell you, he could not find it in his soul to be there for me during this entire situation. He just wanted updates. He just wanted to know when it was taken care of. He wanted to know how each appointment went so that he would know how much longer this situation that I put him in was going to be taken care of, was going to be dealt with. He never visited me. I had told my grandma, and she was very supportive of my decision. She was like, "I'm here for you, baby. I'm so sorry." He didn't tell his mom. That was his decision. I respected it either way. I understood from where I come from with my own toxic, abusive grandfather. I understood. He never know. He never found out. When I had gone into my first appointment, they checked the ultrasound and they couldn't find anything. That brings up one of two scary possibilities. Either I'm too early and, they'll check on HCG levels, I'm just too early for anything to show up. Or it could be an ectopic pregnancy. And if you don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, it's where the fetus, the embryo, is growing outside of the uterus, likely in the fallopian tubes, and it cannot grow there. It is not viable at that point, and if left untreated, the mother will die. She will bleed out from the inside, and her her fallopian tubes will burst, and she'll die out. She'll bleed out internally. So, of course, when I found out that it could be an ectopic pregnancy, I was terrified. I was like, holy crap, like this is even worse than I thought. What the heck? I go down the rabbit hole, and while I'm crying myself to sleep, screaming, wailing into my pillow each night because of what had happened with him cheating on me, me thinking about and having these newfound insecurities of who is he with, where is he at, what girl is he talking to, am I even pretty? Am I even beautiful? Like, I was questioning everything. And this was just another thing that I was crying into my pillow about. And so the doctors were very supportive, very nice. I'm sorry, this is going to be a very long video. Very long video. But I need to tell this story to the end, to the fullest extent. Needless to say, it was not an ectopic pregnancy. I was just too early. My HCG levels were producing normally, increasing normally, and I had gotten an in-clinic procedure because I didn't have time to take the pill and come back to that clinic before I would go back to school. And so in a couple weeks, that situation was taken care of. We were not speaking. He just wanted updates, and we were not speaking, not because I needed time, but because he felt so guilty about what he had done that he needed time to forgive himself. He needed time away to be like, I need to learn how to live with myself again. I did something so wrong to you that I need time away to forgive myself. Like, it's not even about you. It's not even about you having to forgive me. It's about me forgiving myself. Like, I'm so sorry what I did to you, but I need to forgive myself before I can continue dating you. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, so if I do something so terrible to my friend and she's breaking down in tears, yeah, no, I need time away to forgive myself for what I did to you. Like, screw the fact that you need time. I need time. That's how he projected it off. So I get home. I come to his home, and I stay there for the rest of the break until I go back to school. And a couple months pass by. No, a month passes by. This is after New Year's. This is probably like February, March. And he's at work, and me and his mom are spending time on the couch watching The Bachelor. It's a show that she likes. And something was going on in the show. I can't tell you exactly what, but she ended up saying something along the lines of, man, I wish my dusty ass son was more ambitious. Like, why can't he be manager already? Why can't he be going to school and doing this, that, and the other? She was like kind of talking shit about him. She was like roasting him. And I, as the girlfriend, I was like, well, I gotta stand up for my man. So let me like try to support him and be like, no, he's cool. And I was like, no, it was like, wasn't he an assistant manager at his last job? Like, that's pretty cool, huh? And she hits me with, what? Him an assistant manager? You're funny. Why did he tell you that? And I was like, he was working since he was 16, wasn't he? Like, I explained the job that he said he worked. And I was like, yeah, he was an assistant manager at a private gym. Like, he dealt with a lot of Karens all day. And she was like, you're so funny. Why would he tell you that? And I was like, wasn't he working since he was like 15? Like, he's been working for a while. And she was like, no, why would he tell you that? And so all of these lies started coming out. All of the lies that he had ever told me were coming out. He, at one point, tried to run away from home, and he had told me that his parents were very abusive, were very, like, they kicked him out. In reality, he told them that he dropped out of school and that he was going to get his own place and that he had money and he was going to go get his own place. And he had told me about that. He was going to get his own place. He was thinking about it. He's thinking about getting an apartment. And then he hit me that day with, I'm getting my apartment tomorrow. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's like usually a wait list. And he's like, no, my homie at work had set me up with this thing. He's going to get me there tomorrow. My dad kicked me out. I said, like, he made it sound like his parents were abusive and he was getting kicked out. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm here for you if you need to talk. Like, I got you. I'm here. I'm your rock, essentially. And his mom called me that night. This is in the summertime. So let's rewind a second before the whole lies come out. His mom calls me at like 2 a.m, 11:30 at night. It was early. It was late. And she's sobbing on the phone. Mind you, I'd never spoken to this woman. At that point, I hadn't been introduced to her yet. And I'm like, how did you even get my phone number? But she calls me sobbing hysterically, and she's like, have you seen John? Is he with you? Is he okay? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, he ran away from home. He said some horrible, horrible things to us about us and everything and blah, blah, blah. He was a menace to fucking society is what he was. But she told me about like what had happened, and the story was so twisted to what he told me. He told me that they kicked him out, that they were abusive, that his dad hit him, and then she's telling me, I like let her talk. I didn't even tell her like, no, like I thought everything was cool. She's like, he came home because we were getting on him about his school and him not going back to school, and he came home and was just throwing a temper tantrum and just being very, like, he was screaming at us. He was calling us very terrible names. He was saying disgusting words at us. And I was like, oh my God, like what? And I just like let her talk and let her vent. And she's like, thank you so much. He's so great. Like, he's so lucky to have you. You're such a good girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. And I was like, okay. So I left that conversation kind of like, what the heck? But a few days later, it was resolved. That's like, that's a family matter. That's between him and his family. That has nothing to do with me. I need to stay out of it. But when he told me that they had figured it out, I was like, okay, cool. So that was a crisis averted, blah, blah, blah. Back to the lies. I had just, everything had started coming out. I was like, didn't he see a car blow up? Didn't he like save a few guys from the gym? Didn't he used to have a few old girlfriends that like everything had started coming out. And at the point, like she kept saying like, no, like why would he lie to you? And so she then told me like, oh my God, like this has happened before. And I was like, what do you mean this has happened before? I'm like, from like breaking inside, because lying is like my make it or break it for anybody. Like, you lie to me once and we're done. She's like, I don't know if he's told you, but he's on the spectrum. I'm like, yeah, he told me he's on the spectrum. We're cool with that. And she's like, okay, I don't know how deep he told you about it, but he's a pathological liar. he makes up these stories to make himself look better, to make himself be cool, because he essentially has no life and no personality. Like, we've given him everything he could ever want and more. Like, he grew up very sheltered, blah, 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 blah. So he has a hard time relating to people who have been homeless at some points, who have lived on the streets, who grew up in the hood, who grew up in really crappy situations. And as these are coming back to me, I'm like, he told me he used to be part of a gang. He told me he like saw people get shot up and streets get blown up and all this shit. And I'm like, wow. Everything that he ever told me at that point was a lie. So many things. It's like 70% of our relationship was untrue. And I eventually got to this point where I was like, who is this man? Who is this guy that I'm dating at this point? Who is John? Who is he? I'm like scared to share a bed with this person because I don't even know who they are. In reality, they are a sad, broke, miserable man who did not complete college, who dropped out with having no job experience, got a job because his parents forced him to, lied about it on his resume to get into a higher position, prefers to stay indoors and sleep until 12 in the afternoon, basically is very introverted, very opposite of who I am. Eventually, that's what I found out. I'm like, we can't work. We are two sides of a different coin. We are not even like, we are nickel and dime. Like, we're not even fitting the same thing. But that night I had told her, I'm like, I can't even speak to this man. I can't look at this man. I don't know. He's about to be coming home soon. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So she's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have an intervention. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna let you take the lead on this because I don't even know where to start. He gets home and he sees me and he's like, hey babe, how you been? I'm like, don't fucking talk to me. Don't you dare talk to me. And he's like, okay, what's going on? His mom starts off with, so, you know how back when you were a kid, you used to lie and make up stories to your friends to make yourself look cool? He starts rolling his eyes knowing that he fucked up, and he was like, yeah, and? She was like, so what are all these stories I'm hearing about you telling her this, that, and the other, that you've been working since you were 15, that I've been making you pay rent since you were 17, that you starts going and talking about everything, that he like owned 3 vending machines and that, I don't know, some other stuff. And so he sees himself and he's like, okay, we're gonna talk about this. And I'm like, you are so lucky that I am willing to have a conversation with you after everything that's happened between us. You're lucky I'm not walking out that door right now. And so his mom sits third party, and I have my own thoughts about that. But I don't know. I feel like it's different to have your mother or father, family figure, playing the third party neutral person. Because I feel like a mother is always going to choose her son or daughter. That's just kind of how it is, in my opinion. But he gets on his knees and he starts sobbing pathetically. Because that's what he would do when he would be caught in a bind. He would just make himself cry and just cry in front of me. And maybe that would soften the blow that he was about to receive. He asked for my forgiveness. He's like, I'm so sorry. I don't even know why I lied to you about that. I just wanted to be on your level. I just wanted to, and I'm a fucking college student. I'm broke as hell. I'm working my ass off every day to survive, to get to where I need to be. I'm taking measures right now so that by the time I'm 30, I'm set. Like, that is why I'm hustling so hard. And he's like, I just wanted you to take pity on me and not think that I'm some lonely person who doesn't have their shit together. And I was like, yeah, when I first met you, if I knew all this stuff, I probably wouldn't continue dating you. Because I need a man who's very ambitious himself. I need us to be here, not here, with life. Because how am I 20 and you're 21 talking about how you're so ambitious and you have all these dreams when you really don't even know what you want to do with your life? And that's cool. But if I had known that, like, it was giving bum. It was really giving bum. And I don't be hanging out with bums like that. So that whole night goes on, and he promises he'll never lie to me again. And that was that. And I still took him. Sorry, the cam cut out. The software that I'm using, I guess, doesn't take anything past 1 hour. So, like I said before, this is going to be a long video. So, where were we? That night kind of goes off without a hitch, and I take him back. I forgive him eventually. I tell him this is going to take a long time for me to forgive you. My trust is broken. I don't know who you are. And so I take him back, and I'm like, we're going to work through this, but I need you to promise me that you'll never lie to me again. Ever. This is going to be a clean slate, but I will not tolerate this again in the future. My insecurities were high, created by this monster of a man. My heart was constantly shattered, and he had the nerve to still have a problem with me, and that we were still having arguments every freaking day. So, just continuing on to our last encounter before I broke things off with him. Because this is getting a bit too long for my taste, and as you know, I already post long videos on my channel already. So we'll keep this short and sweet, or attempt to. About May 22nd is when I broke up with him, and considering everything that we've been through, that he's put me through, this was a pretty small issue. It was I'm not saying this to downplay it, to make it any less bizarre, hurtful, and like, what the fuck, but it was May, and I had just gotten out of school for the semester, and I had told him in advance that my schedule was going to be changing for work. I was going to be fully available, so my schedule was going to change week to week. My days off were going to change week to week, because previously they had been Thursday and Friday. I had set that in stone for him, because Thursday and Friday were his days off. And so, I told him that they were going to change differently and be different every week. And he was like, all right, cool. And he asked me what days I have off the previous week. And I was like, I just got my schedule. I'm going to be available, keyword available, Wednesday and Thursday. Manipulatively, he says, okay, you can stay the night at my place Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I said, okay, sure. I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but I kind of took it as a manipulation effect. And I was like, I wasn't really cool with it. But I also wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want to start an argument. So I had Monday off, and I have a best friend in Costa Mesa that I love to hang out with, but didn't really get to hang out with a lot because our schedules are different. I was catering to him, etc. So I hit her up and I'm like, hey, what are you doing on Monday? She's like, I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, all right, cool, let's hang out. So we head to Triangle Square. I'm sorry, not Triangle Square. We head to Bellaterra Mall. If you don't know where that is, that's in Huntington Beach. And it literally says Bellaterra Mall on it. And we had gotten Somi Somi. Somi Somi is a soft serve taiyaki place. Really good. I recommend you guys try it out. I had sent a picture on my Instagram story. I posted an Instagram story of our little ice creams together, and I was like, first date kind of nervous, girls date kind of nervous, something cute and stupid like that. And he hadn't texted me that morning, so I was like, he's probably still asleep because he sleeps until 12. So he had seen my story shortly after, and I was like, okay, so he's probably awake. I texted him good morning. He texted me good morning. I'm like, oh, how was your sleep? Blah, blah, blah. Routine stuff. And he hits me with the I slept good. Just seemed like, as we were talking, it seemed like he wasn't cool. He seemed like he was upset, as I probably knew he would be. And I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, no, I'm kind of irritated with you right now. I'm like, for what? What happened? And he's like, I mean, you knew I had today off or you knew I could have hung out with you guys until at least 2. You could have invited me. And I feel like that was really shitty that you didn't. And I'm like, are you fucking with me right now? And I was like, at this point, I'm so drained. I'm not even attracted to this man anymore. I don't love him, and I don't fuck with him, and I really just don't like him. Like, he's just seeming very ugly. You know, when a person you don't like, that you think is attractive, but the second they open their mouth, they're no longer attractive, and everything that they do annoys you. That's the point that I was at. And so I kind of just am done with his shit at this point, and I sent him a slightly sassy. When I listened to it, I could have done more, if you're asking me. But I sent him a voice message on Instagram so he could hear the tone in my voice, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry you were invited, but I told you this was my availability, that I was going to be available for you Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, You wanted me to stay Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. So, you know, I'm sacrificing those days to hang out with you when I could be at home doing my own thing. But today, I do have off. That is none of your business, but I have it off. And I'm going to spend it the way that I want to. I'm spending it with my best friend because I don't get to hang out with her because I'm usually hanging out with you. And that's just going to be it. And if you have a problem with it, sorry. Not sorry. And that was basically it. And he was like, how dare you? I don't have a problem with you not hanging out with me. How dare you insinuate that? Y'all, it's literally in the text. You didn't invite me. You could have invited me. So we go back and forth, tit for tat a little bit. And I'm like, listen, I'll talk to you later. I don't have time for this right now. Go to work. I'll talk to you when you're off. He's like, fine, whatever, I'm done. And that text, I was like, he's probably breaking up with me. He's probably like saying that as in I'm going to break up with you, I'm done way, but I'm going to give you one last chance to see if you're worth it because I'm your first boyfriend and I take pity on you. Sir, I don't need your fucking pity. Blah, blah, blah. So that entire night goes on. The entire day goes on. Me and her are talking and venting and irritated as hell because he's made my life miserable and he's therefore has made her life miserable also for putting her best friend through the shit that he's put her through. And I eventually text her, call her. We're on the phone throughout the whole day. I'm sobbing, I'm crying, I'm screaming. I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I think that this might be the last straw. And so I text him and I'm like, I need to talk to you. Talk to me. Call me when you get off of work, please. He does. And I'm sobbing at this point, but I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. He sounds so cold on the other end of the phone. You don't think you can do this relationship anymore? No, I don't know if I can. Not with how things have been going. He cuts me off. Okay, bye. Hangs up the phone. I start sobbing even more, but I'm like, wow, that was easy. Got off lucky. I'm scared now. I was right to be scared because why did he turn into a menace the entire next 3 months? And so, this is a bit short and sweet compared to the other lies that he has told me. But the 137 lies that came about after we had that conversation, the lies that I would just be hanging out at work, tossing sandwiches and sprinkling sandwiches and slicing sandwiches and just be zoning out and realize some interaction was a lie. Some girl flirting with him at work was a lie. And as these lies kept piling up, as these lies kept coming and going and just continuing to come up, I was getting so drained, so tired. Just all of my emotions. I'm an emotional person. All of those emotions were just empty. And so for the next 6 months after that, I was just a numb human being. I felt nothing, which was kind of pure bliss if you ask me. I was very sarcastic. It was fun. ADHD loved it. But I had no heart for men. I had no taste for men. I had no desire to be around a man. A lot of hatred towards them, actually. And it would be a joke that I would hang out, say to my friend every once in a while, but I was very content with just being some 40-year-old auntie with 7 dogs and 3 cats. Champagne glass after a long day of work because I'm rich as hell. Because who the fuck do I need to put me through this again? I don't need a man. I don't want them. They're dusty as hell. They don't do anything. This man was broke as crap. trying to talk about how he doesn't like to pay for women because he prefers to split the bill and be equal because women use people and blah, 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 blah. No, you were just broke as fuck. Talking about alpha males and following Andrew Tate and watching Alpha Bros or whatever the hell it is on YouTube. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And so now I'm at a point where, unfortunately, to some extent, my emotions have come back. And my body and my heart is ready to have love again, to experience love again. But man, am I terrified. I'm absolutely, unastoundedly terrified. That's not a real word, I just made it up, probably. I don't trust anybody. I trust half the shit that people tell me these days. And when men do beautiful things for me, like open a car door, ask me every half hour, are you hungry? Do you want to get anything? You haven't eaten in a while. Like, just being concerned? Why is that a red flag? Why is having money and actually having a job and being successful a red flag? It's not. But my traumatic ass is like, this man's capping. This man's lying about something. That story you told me about being something, whatever, that's totally a lie. I don't trust anybody. And whether I do again, it'll be a fucking miracle. But my God. Each day that I let my heart feel something for somebody is a fucking battle. Because every time I'm like, this is probably going to end soon. Something's probably going to happen. He's going to turn me off somehow. He's going to make me mad and I'm not going to put up with it and I'm going to say bye. Well, bye. There's the door, bitch. No fucks given. Drop you like that. Oops. Sorry, not sorry, motherfucker. I have no patience anymore. I am no longer a loving maternal figure. If you don't come correct, you don't have to come at all, and I'll be fine with that. There's nothing but distaste. But I'm trying. I really am. And the person that I'm currently talking to, if you're watching this, I'm sorry you had to see me like this. I'm sorry you had to see this. But this is who I am at this point. I'm still healing, and I appreciate the time and the effort and everything that you're doing for me. It doesn't go unnoticed. And I'm not going to apologize for this video. But dating pathological liars is crazy. Because, like, actually what? Like, for what? You're already not a cool person. The way that you're acting does not make you a cool person. But to wrap up this video, Reesa Teesa, I appreciate you, girl. I know you'll probably never see this video, but thank you for giving me the courage to come on here and say this. Thank you for giving me the courage to get on here and speak my piece so that another woman like me doesn't get into this situation. And I know I talked a lot. This isn't over an hour, but I don't know if I expressed enough the pain and heartache that I went through, the extent of his lies. I probably brought up 12, 13, maybe even 10 out of the 137. That's a fucking number. That is a very specific number. And I'll add to it if I think of anything else. But as of now, it stands at 137 lies in the year and 2 months that me and John were together. And believe me, he turned into a fucking menace after I broke up with him. He made me out to be a monster. He was harassing me. He was blocked on all sorts of social media. His friends still text me out of the blue saying, you're acting like hot shit when you're not. Very derogatory terms. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. Did he really tell you the full story? Do you know how much of a liar he is? I don't know if you do. I don't know what story he told, but I don't know if it's the full extent of what actually happened. So thank you, Reesa Teesa. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful trip in Europe where you want to go. I hope you see everything. I hope you see all of the stuff in Paris and London and Versailles and all these places that you want to go to. I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to get my PhD, my physician assistant degree. I'm going to be a medical assistant next year. I'm going to work on my ass and I'm going to get there. Because I'm a boss ass bitch like that. It's really giving boss bitch energy. I might not be talking like it is, but believe me, I got some plans that I'm excited for. And for the beautiful man that comes with me along the way, welcome to the party, baby. Welcome to the chaos. It's wonderful here. We're gonna have a great time. But I'm sorry for this long video, you guys. If don't watch it all at once, watch it, listen to it, if anything, while you're doing laundry, while you're taking a shit on the toilet, while you're walking to class, driving to work, what have you. I really appreciate anybody who watches this, and I hope that I could help at least one person to see the red flags that I was kind of collecting and putting them in a vase until they got too much and they exploded watching The Bachelor with their mama coming out and being like, well, what do you tell you all this crap? Because lies just come out so easily, don't they? It's crazy. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. It is 7 o'clock at night and I have not touched. I brought the alcohol. I took one sip. Not an alcoholic. But if you like this video, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys on the next one. We have another workout video coming this week. We've already lost 23 pounds and we've got about 38 to go. Such a great time here. But leave a comment down below if you liked this video, if you could have, can relate to it in any way, and I will see y'all next time.